Right now, we want to take a look at the people and the groups behind this important effort, starting with three key organizations, all working in different ways, yet also working together to make Great Start a reality. Marvin McKinney, the founding chairman of the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, along with Chief Executive Officer Judy Samelson, join me today to talk about the Investment Corporation. Marvin, Judy, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Marvin, let me start. You were in the ground floor. You were part of the two early initiatives of the Ready to Succeed group and the initial Early Childhood Investment Corporation. How did you feel when you heard Governor Granholm announce in her State of the State in 2003 that Great Start was going to be an initiative?
Well, I felt very, very excited because this issue, even though we did have the Ready to Succeed group and the Early Childhood group, it really started in the late 60s. With the seminal study at High Scope. And so groups have been meeting for the last 40 years, and we have been trying to approach government and governors for a long time. And lo and behold, the Ready to Succeed group created a white paper for the governor that she used in her campaign. And we were hoping that somehow it would get mentioned. And when it did get mentioned, we said this is a new beginning for early childhood development in the state of Michigan.
So it had taken all of those years to get to that point. So finally the corporation had its first meeting in 2005. You want to give us an idea of what went on at that meeting?
Well, yeah, I think that meeting in 2005 came as a result of so much work that had been done in early childhood, as well as so much that had been done in terms of brain development. And so people began to see that, yes, early childhood can make a difference. And so at that first meeting, we were just very excited. And we didn't even know who was on first base. So at the first meeting, we tried to figure out, well, who's going to head up this group? So we all looked at each other, and I nominated Marianne Udow, and Marianne Udow nominated me. And so initially, we became co-chairs, but we knew that there was a lot of work in front of us, and this was just a new beginning.
And so, Judy, you are now heading this effort up. What has it taken to get to this point?
To be honest, Christy, it is about having an amazing group of people working with us, people with a lot of passion and a lot of dedication, and the fact that they're really focused on how do we lift people, how do we lift parents, give them the resources and the things that they need to help their children be school ready.
Do you find that you're finally getting traction in the public, that people are starting to understand the importance of what you're doing?
I do indeed. I think over the last few years we've really seen early childhood come onto the radar screen in a very real way. You know, at the very beginning we actually tracked and looked at how much early childhood was in the media, how much it was in the public discourse, and it was a disturbing little. And then we spent a fair amount of time trying to change that and to have the conversations, and the whole development of the Great Start Network was a huge piece of that, building this both from the top down at the state level and also bottoms up from the community level.
So you made that recommendation that the Great Start office should be made in the state of Michigan. What went into that decision?
Well, the Office of Great Start came about honestly because as we looked at the many aspects of early childhood and what was going to happen, it was very apparent to us that the majority of resources are with state government, as you would expect. And even though as this initiative started, it started from the standpoint, and the reason we became a public-private initiative is the fact that government can't do this alone. Government still can't do this alone, and it's going to take everybody to be a part of this. So we looked at it and we said, with so many resources at play, so many programs and serving young people, but us not really necessarily getting the best outcomes with those resources, that we needed an inside player. We needed an Office of Great Start within government to focus on aligning, coordinating, streamlining those services for people in local communities.
Marvin, are you seeing that public-private partnership working very well now?
I think that it is working, and I think that we're trying to also work out the kinks, because I think that trying to get more of the public involved in the partnership, as well as trying to convince the government that it's not just about early education, but it's about the total development of the child in terms of social and emotional health, in terms of physical health, and in terms of parent health, because without healthy parent, you probably are going to be challenged to have a healthy child. And also with giving parents the kind of support and power that they need to really be advocates for their children.
And really, if you look at it, the Office of the Great Start, they're making sure that our assets and what we're doing is, they're accountable for what's happening in the state. But what you're also working on, Judy, is you're looking at quality assurance and different programs like that. And so that really does work in tandem.
That's very true. We are looking at innovation, and if we're going to build a system in Michigan, there are many needs. For example, one of the things that we're working on is getting a quality rating and improvement system for early learning in Michigan, because we can have all the taxpayer money in the world going into programs, but we really don't have too many tools that are telling us whether we're getting any return on investment for that. And if we just look at the statistic that says a third to a half of children are arriving in kindergarten not prepared, one could argue that maybe those programs could work better, or if we align them more, that maybe we would get further or our return on investment would be greater. So our work is to do innovation, to do technical assistance, support those local communities that want to look at their community, understand what their local needs are, what their local assets are, and what they have to do to support their own children, and then do the advocacy and some of the other things that are important to building those pieces that we don't now have in a system.
Important work indeed. Judy, Marvin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.